Evening caller, Almost Bible Say.
Hello, this is Tanner Adams from Good News Baptist Church in Illinois.
Hey, Tanner. So,
how you doing, man?
All right. You're the one that left the comment on the YouTube channel.
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. What was it that kind of caught your attention about that show?
Well, I was kind of watching your show tonight. I kind of want to comment on your show tonight.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just watching it, and you was talking about how believing has to do with our works or with something like that. Is that what you were saying?
That's what the Bible would say.
All right. Well, what would you say about Romans chapter 4, verse 5, when it says, "But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness."
Okay. I would say the same thing that Andrew Sluter even said on his Backwoods Bible podcast, that in fact everybody has to acknowledge that under the Old Testament system, works was involved in a person's salvation. So
I don't believe that at all, sir.
Okay, so you don't believe what it says in verse 11, and he received, or excuse me, not verse 11, verse 12. Verse 12. And the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision only, but who also walk in the steps of that faith of our father Abraham, which he had being yet uncircumcised.
Well, if you say the law brings righteousness, how come verse 6, David, clearly under the law, is talking about a man being justified without the works of the law?
Because Abraham is keeping the law by faith. He's not just simply a letter keeper.
So is David, and he's under the law.
Okay, yeah.
He's saying the same exact thing. He's under the law.
So you're
the law was never
now
meant
calm
to
down,
bring righteousness
calm down,
at all.
calm down.
I don't get how you say like believing has to do with works when it clearly says, "If a man worketh not, but believeth, he's justified."
Okay, because of what other passages are going to say, even with what you have here in Romans chapter 4. Did Abraham have to walk? Were there steps? Were there steps?
He was counted for righteousness. What was that? Chapter 15.
Mm-hmm. Had he not done anything up to that point?
To be saved, that he believed God and was counted him to righteousness. He didn't do nothing.
He didn't do anything? In Genesis chapter 12, he didn't leave Ur of Chaldees and go to a land that the Lord had promised him? That's not doing something?
I'm talking about chapter 15, when it says 15 verse 6. That's when he gets saved, my friend.
So he's not saved. So he's not saved. Abraham's not.
That's why Paul uses that for an example in Romans chapter 10.
Okay, so Abraham's not saved in Genesis 12.
Let me see here. I mean, I don't believe so, sir.
So
Abraham believed God and is counted him for righteousness.
So Abraham did not believe God here when he called him out of the Ur of the Chaldees.
I'm just going by what Genesis chapter 5 verse 6 says. And that's why Paul used that for an example in Romans chapter 10. So no, I don't believe that.
Well, in Genesis chapter 15, Abraham's faith is not even made complete. Do you know where Abraham's faith is made complete?
Well, you're trying to say chapter 22.
Well, that's what the Bible would say.
But he was saved before he did the works.
How can he? No, he'd already done the works. He'd already done the works. He
was righteous before he gave up his son on the altar, my friend.
His faith.
He proved his work. He proved his faith by offering his son on the altar.
Now, if you are actually saying, hold on, stop. You're not doing well. You're not doing well. You're not doing well. You're not doing well.
Works what we really believe.
Now, Tanner, you're going to have to calm down. You're showing that you're not going to be a very good opponent for debate. That you can't give and take here.
I'm sorry.
All right. So let's just, I'm fine with talking to you.
Yep.
All right. So.
Well, I know you guys like going back and forth, and I don't really like people talking over me. So whoever talks loudest, you know what I mean. So.
Well, I'm not trying to talk loudest. I'm trying to get you to stop. Because.
Let's hear what you got to say.
All right. So Genesis 15. That's when Abraham is saved, even though his faith is actually not complete until Genesis chapter 2, per what James would write in James chapter 2. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so he has an incomplete faith, but that's actually where he is saved, and not, in fact, in Genesis chapter 22.
Did it say his faith was made complete, or did it say?
It actually says his faith was made perfect, James chapter 2.
Exactly. He said his faith was made perfect. He had faith. Paul clearly answers James' question. He said, "Can faith save him?" Yes. can save him because Paul answered that question in Romans chapter 4. We just read that.
Okay, but can faith...
So obviously we can't, he's not talking about salvation, man.
At which point?
James chapter 2, he's not talking about salvation at all.
How can...
He's writing to save Christians.
Now, how can you separate Abraham's faith here that it's not about salvation, but yet it's the exact same word, Romans chapter 4, and you're saying that's about salvation? How are you able to make...
Romans 4 is talking about Genesis chapter 15. James is talking about Genesis chapter 22.
Okay, I agree with that, but you still have a problem in that you're looking before Abraham's faith is actually made perfect, and you're saying, okay, that's when he was saved.
So God lied when it said Abraham believed God and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Did he lie?
No, I would in fact say that Abraham is saved in Genesis chapter 12 because look at what you have in Genesis chapter 12. Genesis 12:8, and he removed from thence unto a mountain unto the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east, and there he built an altar unto the Lord, and look at what Abraham's doing, and called upon the name of the Lord. Is he saved in Genesis chapter 12?
I believe he was saved in Genesis chapter 15, verse 6, when it said Abraham believed the Lord, and it was counted unto him for righteousness.
So here's a person calling upon the name of the Lord, and they're not saved.
I believe he's praying right there, actually.
Well, how would you say a person saved?
He was saved in Genesis chapter 15, verse 6, like it says.
So you have an unsaved...
For righteousness in Genesis chapter... But what you're trying to say, see, you're trying to pull some other stuff. But what you're trying to say is he was saved by his works. You're not even proving that point when you're bringing up this Genesis chapter 12 thing.
I mean,
he was not saved by his works. He was not saved by offering up his son on the altar. He was saved by believing in God.
So what if he had disobeyed?
That's the whole point here.
So what if he had disobeyed?
What's that?
What if Abraham had disobeyed and he didn't offer his son?
He was still saved because in Genesis chapter 15, verse 6, it was counted unto him for righteousness. Is God going to take that righteousness away?
If you're not obeying, is that not in fact the entire discussion about through the Old Testament? If you obey, you're blessed. If you disobey, you're cursed.
This was before the law, my friend.
But you still have that. So Abraham's out here without law. He has no law here.
This is before the law was given.
So he's out here with no law.
The law of Moses?
I'm not discussing the law of Moses. I'm talking about law in general. Is he just out here without law?
I guess I don't know what you mean by that. Like a written law, or what do you mean?
It doesn't have to be a written law. It's just simply God saying, do this. Is there law that Abraham is needing to be obedient to?
I guess I don't know what you mean.
In order for him to be found faithful, in order for him to be righteous, there has to be obedience. I mean, that's Hebrews 5:9. He's the author of them. He's the author of eternal salvation unto them that obey him.
Okay.
So, in order to receive salvation, there has to be obedience. So there has to be some type of law whereby Abraham's to be found obedient. Abraham, in Genesis chapter 12, he is keeping...
What did he do in Genesis chapter 15 that made him obedient?
I'm saying he's obedient before Genesis 15. He's calling upon the name of the Lord, sir.
Then how come it says in Genesis chapter 15:6 that Abraham believed God and it was counted unto him for righteousness? What do you mean there? What do you mean by that?
It means exactly what it means, up to that point.
So before then, was he accounted righteous?
If he's calling on the name of the Lord, yeah. If he's offering sacrifices, that's exactly what he's doing.
I'm just going by what it says, man. You can try to put your own little twist on it, but the Bible clearly says in Genesis 15:6, it was counted on him for righteousness because he believed God.
Are you going to deny
that as an example in Romans chapter 10?
Are you going to deny that he's building an altar and that he's offering sacrifices and calling upon the name of the Lord?
I'm saying it was counted unto him for righteousness in Genesis 15:6, and that's what I've been saying the whole time. And I haven't, I don't know how many times, I don't know how many ways I can say that. But I'm saying he was saved in Genesis 15:6.
Well, and I've showed you from Genesis chapter 12 that he's already building altars, he's already making sacrifices, and he's already calling upon the name of the Lord. And then you tack on top of that Hebrews chapter 11, verse 8. By faith, let me finish.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he was, and he went out not knowing whither he went. This is Genesis chapter 12.
Okay, well, how do you reconcile that with Romans chapter 4 then? If he says, him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. How do you reconcile that?
Because Abraham is not involved in a fleshly work. He's not involved in a work of merit. His going out was not his work. That was a work of faith. That's his believing. See, people have this idea that faith and believing is... He did do it.
All right.
But just because... So you're saying because he did it...
We do. He said, for by grace we're saved through faith, not that of yourself.
Yeah, this was not by Abraham's...
We do.
Is this by Abraham's self?
Abraham got up.
So you're saying that Abraham is guilty of Ephesians 2, 8, and 9. This was Abraham's self.
What's that?
This was Abraham's self? This wasn't God? God didn't tell Abraham to get up and go?
He believed. That brought the works, my friend.
Hebrews 11:8 says Genesis chapter 12. By faith, Abraham. Now you see, that's not a work of Abraham.
That's what I started off with, man. I said, your faith will bring your works.
But you said,
the same.
But you said it's not by works.
Well, your works will prove what you truly believe.
So in fact, you are needing works to go along with your belief.
No, I'm not.
Abraham did.
What's that?
I said Abraham did.
No, man, I think you're just twisting it.
How am I twisting this?
It clearly says Abraham believed God and it was counted unto him for righteousness.
What does it say here about Genesis?
Romans 4.
What does it say here? What does it say here? Did Abraham have faith in Genesis 12?
What's that?
Did Abraham have faith in Genesis 12?
I'm just going by what the Bible says.
You're not going to answer, are you? By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, did he have faith in Genesis chapter 12?
Is that what it says in Hebrews chapter 11? Is that what you're reading?
That's Hebrews 11:8.
All right. But that's still, even if you're...
By faith...
Even if that is correct, that still does not prove your point.
Well, it undid yours. You're looking at Genesis 15.
It proves the point that Abraham...
Now you see, sir, you won't even admit your fault. You looked at Genesis 15 and said that's where Abraham is saved. But in fact, in Hebrews 11, we find that Abraham has faith and he obeyed. So was he saved in Genesis 12?
Okay, I'll say, just for argument's sake, I'll say that he is saved in Genesis chapter 12. But that still does not prove your point.
Okay, well hold. Can you stay on hold? I've got to wrap up. I'm at time. I got to go.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on.
Am I holding? Am I holding, or what am I doing?
Yeah, you're holding. I'm not gonna hang up on you. Okay. Well, lively show. So we're gonna leave off at that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the calls. Always ask for what does the Bible say. Have a good night.